Welcome to this discussion. We are looking at Form 2 Mathematics under Frustrums, a question that carries 10 marks. And the question we have reads, the diagram below shows a flower vase of depth 18 centimeters. The ratio of the top and the bottom diameter is in the ratio of 5 to 2, and taking pi to be 3.142, calculate the volume of the flower vase, 7 marks. B, the curved surface area of the flower vase. Remember, this vase or diagram is in the shape of a frustrum or a bucket. And for us to be able to calculate the volume of the frustrum, we need to extend the given frustrum so that we can form a cone. The simple reason why we have to form a cone is because we cannot be able to calculate the volume of the frustrum because the frustrum does not have the formula of getting its volume. Originally, this diagram was like this before it was cut off to remain with a frustrum. What we need to calculate is we need to get the radius of the larger cone. We also need to get the radius of this smaller cone that was cut off for us to remain with the frustrum. Equally, we need to calculate the height of this small cone and also get the height of the entire cone, which we can give capital H. First, we know that to get the volume of the frustrum, we need to take the volume of larger cone, we minus the volume of smaller cone. The larger cone is the entire of this diagram, and the smaller cone is what was cut off. But volume of cone is given by a third pi r squared h, and therefore for us to get the volume we need to get the heights and the radiuses of the given shape. Using similarity and enlargement, we know if you take the height of the smaller cone, you divide by the height of the larger cone, it must always give you the radius of the smaller cone divided by the radius of the larger cone, and that must also be equal to the ratio of the bottom to the ratio of the top, which can be written as a fraction as 2 out of 5. We do not have the height of the smaller cone. We divide by the height of the larger cone, which will be obtained by taking 18, you add small height, and this must give us 2 out of 5. If you cross multiply, we are going to have 5 times h giving us 5h, being equal to 2 times 18, which is 36. We add 2 times h, giving us 2h. If we bring 2h to this other side, you subtract, and therefore we remain with 3h, being equal to 36. And therefore our small h will be obtained by dividing both sides by 3, which gives us 12 centimeters. Once we have the height of the smaller cone, we can now get the height of the bigger cone. By taking 18, you add the small h, which is 12, and this one gives us 30 centimeters. Equally, we can take also the slant length of the frustrum is 24, and if you extend it this way, we are going to have the slant length of the smaller cone And again, using similarity and enlargement, you take the length of the smaller cone, you divide by the slant length of the larger cone. This must also give us the ratio of the top to that of the bottom. We do not have the small slant length, that is the length of the smaller cone. We divide by the slant length of the original cone, which will be 24 plus the small l. This must give us 2 out of 5. If you cross multiply, we are going to have 5h being equal to, this is 2 times 24 giving us 48, plus 2 times l will give us 2l. If you bring 2l to this other side, you subtract, and therefore we remain with 3l being equal to 48. And if you divide both sides by 3, our small l will be 16 centimeters. And if our small l would be 16 centimeters, the slant length of the original cone would be 24 plus the small length of 16, and that gives us 40 centimeters. In this case now, we have our small h, which is 12 centimeters. We have our big h, which is 30 centimeters. We have our slant length of the smaller cone, which is 16 centimeters. We also have the slant length of the bigger cone, which is 40 centimeters. What we do not have is the radius of the larger cone and also the radius of the smaller cone. And for us to get these two, we are going to use the right angled triangle. This is our big radius. We have already calculated the total height of the original cone, which is 30, and the slant length has also been calculated as 40. We do not have the radius of the smaller cone and also the radius of the bigger cone. And therefore now, to get the base squared, or r squared will be equal to the hypotenuse, which is 40 squared, minus the height, which is 30 squared. And to get r, you take the square root of 40 squared minus 30 squared will give us 700, and therefore the square root of 700 will be equivalent to 26.46 centimeters. Once we have our bigger radius, we can get the smaller radius by using the ratio of the top to that of the bottom, and therefore we are going to have 2 out of 5 of the total, or the larger radius of 26.46, and this one gives us 10.584 centimeters. Once we have all these dimensions, we can now move down and get the volume of the frustrum. To get the volume of the frustrum, we get the volume of the larger cone minus the volume of the smaller cone, and this one is going to give us a third times pi, which was given, and our pi was actually 3.142. We multiply by the bigger radius, and the bigger radius was 26.46, but the radius is squared. We multiply by the total height of the original cone, which is 30, minus the smaller cone is a third. We multiply by pi, which is 3.142, multiplied by the smaller radius, which is 10.584 squared. Then we multiply by the smaller height, and the height of the smaller cone was calculated as 12 centimeters. Having done that, now we are good to go. So if you work out this part, we are going to get 21,998.1 minus, you work out the volume of the smaller cone, you are going to get 1407.9. Remember, all of them are in centimeter cubic, and this one is going to give us an answer equivalent 20,590.2 centimeter cubic, and that is the volume of the vase, which is what the question requires us to do. That is part A of the question worked out. We calculate part B of the question. In part B, we are supposed to calculate the surface area of a frustrum. And remember, the surface area of a frustrum is going to be equal to the surface area of the larger cone, which is going to be given taking pi, you multiply by the bigger radius times the slant length of the original cone. Then we minus the surface area of the smaller cone, which is going to be given by pi small r. We multiply by L, which is the slant length of this smaller cone here. So the difference between the original cone and the smaller cone here will give us that of the frustrum. In this case now, we have been given our pi. Our pi is 23.142. We multiply by the bigger radius, which is 26.46, multiply by the slant length, which is 40. We minus this smaller one will be 3.142 multiplied by the small radius, and the small radius was calculated as 10.8, that is 584. We multiply by the height of the slant length of the smaller cone, which we found out to be 16. From here now we can move down. This part will give us an answer equivalent to 3,325.5 minus this other part will give us 532.08, and the difference between the two will give us 2,793.42 centimeter square as the surface area of the vase, which is in the shape of the frustrum. Thank you for watching and welcome to this channel. And in case you are watching this channel for the first time, kindly take 1 second and click the subscribe button so that anytime we produce a video like this, you'll automatically be given a notification.